Sometime during the night of August 16th, 1952, the small town of Ashley, Kansas, ceased to exist. At 3:28 a.m. on August 17th, 1952, a magnitude 7.9 earthquake was measured by the United States Geological Survey. The earthquake itself was felt throughout the state and most of the Midwest. The epicenter was determined to be directly under Ashley, Kansas. When state law enforcement arrived at what should have been the outskirts of the farming community, they found a smoldering, burning fissure in the earth measuring 1,000 yards in length and approximately 500 yards in width. The depth of the fissure was never determined. After 12 days, the statewide and local search for the missing 679 residents of Ashley, Kansas, was called off by the Kansas state government at 9:15 p.m. on the night of August 29th, 1952. All 679 residents were assumed to be dead. At 2:27 a.m. on August 30th, 1952, a magnitude 7.5 earthquake was measured by the United States Geological Survey. The epicenter was situated underneath what used to be the location of Ashley, Kansas. When law enforcement investigated at 5:32 a.m., they reported that the fissure in the earth had closed. In the 8 days leading up to the disappearance of the town and its 679 residents, bizarre and unexplainable events were reported by dozens of residents in Ashley, Kansas, and law enforcement from the surrounding area. On the evening of August 8th, 1952, at 7:13 p.m., a resident by the name of Gabriel Jonathan reported a strange sight in the sky above Ashley. The town itself, having no official branch of law enforcement, called into the police station of the neighboring town of Hayes. Gabriel reported what appeared to be a small, black opening in the sky. Within the next 15 minutes, the Hayes police station became overwhelmed with dozens of phone calls, all reporting the same phenomena. The phenomenon was never reported by any neighboring communities. A decision was made to send a trooper to Ashley to investigate the matter the following morning. At 7:54 a.m. on the morning of August 9th, 1952, Hayes police officer Alan Mace radioed the Hayes police station. He reported that despite following the one-way road leading into Ashley, he had become lost. According to his report, the road continued along the normal path, but somehow ended up back in Hayes. Officer Mace went on to add that the road never curved or bent in any direction. At 9:15 a.m., 7 of the town's 10 police cars were sent to investigate the situation, and all members of the team came to the same conclusion. The only road leading into Ashley stopped leading to Ashley, but instead led back to Hayes. Phone calls continued to pour into the Hayes police station, all reports that the black opening in the sky continued to grow in size. All reported callers were advised to remain inside and not to travel outside unless absolutely necessary. At 8:17 p.m., Mrs. Elaine Cantor reported her neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Milton, and their 2 children, Jeffrey and Brooke, missing. According to Mrs. Cantor's phone call, the Miltons attempted to leave town in their family car earlier that evening. They never returned. Law enforcement officials from Hayes never reported the car or individuals coming up the one-way road. At 7:38 a.m. on the morning of August 10th, 1952, the phone calls from Ashley into the Hayes police station reported that the town was in total darkness. The sun had never risen. At 10:15 a.m., at the request of Hayes law enforcement, a helicopter from Topeka, Kansas, flew over the region in which Ashley, Kansas stood. The town was never observed from the air. At 12:43 p.m. on the afternoon of August 11th, 1952, Mrs. Phoebe Danielewski called into the Hayes police station. She reported that her daughter, Erica, had begun to have conversations with her father, who died 3 years prior in a drunk driving accident. To add to her concern, Mrs. Danielewski reported that Erica was attempting to go outside into the dark to join them. Over the course of the next 12 hours, a reported 329 phone calls were placed into the Hayes police station, all describing similar phenomenon with the children of the town. The following morning of August 12, 1952, the situation became dire. During the middle of the night, all 217 children in the town of Ashley, Kansas, disappeared. A reported 421 phone calls were placed into the Hayes Police Department. Unable to be of any useful assistance, Hayes law enforcement instructed all callers to remain inside and to avoid any and all attempts to find the missing children. At 5:19 p.m. on the evening, August 13th, 1952, Ashley elderly man Scott Luntz reported a growing distant fire to the south. According to his description, the fire seemed to turn the distant black into bright red and orange that seemed to extend high into the sky. Throughout the rest of the day, calls continued in, stating that the fire, in addition to moving north, now seemed to come out of the black sky. No fire was ever witnessed by any of the neighboring communities or law enforcement officials. The reports continued until 12:09 a.m. in the morning of August 14th, 1952. The last phone call placed by Mr. Benjamin Endicott reported that the fire in the sky had grown so intense that it began to appear as daytime over the town. The phone call ended abruptly. From the phone call placed by Benjamin Sherman Endicott.
Just hold on. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, I see something. It's to the south. It looks like...
The next phone call wouldn't be placed until the following evening. The following is the entire transcript of the final phone call to be received by the Hayes Police Department out of the town of Ashley, Kansas. It was placed at 9:46 p.m. on the evening of August 15th, 1952. In this recorded phone call, the officer on duty is Officer Peter Welsh. The caller has been identified as Miss April Foster. Hayes Police Department. Hello.
Yes, hello?
Ma'am? Ma'am, who am I speaking with?
My name is April Foster. Please, sir, please help me.
What's happening, ma'am?
Last night they came back.
Ma'am, I'm going to need to ask you.
Last night they came back!
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down and speak clearly. What happened? Who came back?
Everyone.
Everyone?
They all came in the fire.
What do you mean, everyone?
My son! I saw my son last night. He was walking. He was walking down the street. He was burned. Jesus Christ, he was burned.
Ma'am,
He died last year. I raised him since he was a baby. It was just me and him. I told him to watch for cars when he rode his bike, but he never wanted to listen.
Ma'am, what you're saying isn't making any sense. You said everyone came back.
Are you fucking listening to me? Everyone! Everyone came back! Everyone who died or went missing, they're back! And they're looking for us! He said, Mommy, I'm okay now. See, I can walk again. Where are you, Mommy? I want to see you.
Ma'am, where are you now? Are you safe?
I'm hiding. Just like everyone else. We saw them coming to the field and some people opened their doors for them. God, God, the screaming. I don't know what happened to them, but their house is caught on fire. They caved in. I have my curtains drawn. I'm hiding in the closet right now.
Ma'am? Is everything alright? Are you okay? Ma'am?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Ma'am?
Something just came in.
Ma'am, stay quiet as you can. Don't make a sound.
Mommy. Mommy. He came inside.
Stay absolutely still. Don't leave.
Mommy. Mommy. Where are you hiding?
Stay quiet.
I found you, Mommy.
Ma'am? Ma'am! The following morning, at 6:55 a.m., the law enforcement officials of the Hayes Police Department arrived at the location of Ashley, Kansas. A smoldering, burning fissure in the earth was all that remained.
You are ridiculous. Well, he's so ridiculous that the Bears are going to bring...
Have you ever been told not to talk to strangers? Yeah, well, I've been told that a lot, and I was a very stupid kid around that time. I let myself wallow into the arms of a stranger. But I'll tell you the story. It was a bright, sunny September day in the year of 1994. I was alone on the front yard of my parents' house, and I was aimlessly walking around playing with my toys like any regular kid would do, but then there was a man who walked past my house. I watched him for a moment. He didn't have any hair as far as I know. He wore little clothing, not being completely nude, but he walked around. It seemed like he had nowhere else to go, and that he didn't even know where to go. He scared me for a bit because he made eye contact with me for quite a while. He was very pale and skinny as well. His ribs poked through his abdomen, and I noticed the tear in his shorts. He wore flip-flops and was sickly. I wanted to go inside and tell my mom and dad about the man, but something about him just kept my feet planted in the ground. At around the third cycle of our street, he made gurgling noises. I felt bad for the man because his feet began to blister in the hot sun. He hadn't seemed tired at all from all of that pacing around. I had that feeling that I didn't want to catch eye of him walking back around my way again. I was so scared when he returned the 8th time. He had spoke random words that made no sense to me, given that I was a young child. Once he came around on the 10th time, my mother had came out and he was just standing there. My mother panicked. She grabbed me and I jerked away from her arms. I did not know why, but I wanted to go with him. I heard my mother call my father. She was very hysterical. My father came rushing to me and he pulled me into the house. I fought and I struggled and I wanted to go back out. I described everything that transpired in great detail. My parents thought that I was crazy for wanting to go out there with that man. But that's when my mother reminded me of the same safety tip. Don't talk to strangers. I don't want to talk with him, though. I want to see him. I want to watch him walk in that ridiculous cycle again. But they insisted that I should go to bed. I was just not hungry at all. I only thought of the man. I turned constantly in my bed to see him by the curtainless window. I'd often see him crawl on the floor and call my name. Fuck, he even sat in front of me and made constant eye contact for hours. Neither of us said a thing. I just watched his colorless eyes. He said nothing. I swore I thought that I could see his mouth move, but I was so fearless I did not want to be distant from him. I considered him my friend. But as the days go by, I constantly see him when I go to school. He's been there outside of my classroom, making no movement. My classmates would scream and give away his location. But the more that he grew attached to me, he showed up everywhere I go. There was no word shared between us, but we were somehow understanding of each other. It's difficult to explain, but I just know. Okay. Two years later, one of my friends at school mysteriously vanished. He wouldn't show up for school for the next few days to come. I worry about him. He made rude remarks to the man that stood by my side for these 2 years, but after that... One night I was sitting on my bed, not having gotten any sleep for about a few days. He appeared. My friend stood beside him. I looked at them both with wide eyes, surprised that he would actually appear with him. My school friend was similar to the man in body structure. He was just as bony and as pale as him. I called his name, and he responded with a twitch. I got up and crept slowly towards him. I called his name, and he responded with a twitch. He made another twitch as I tried to touch him. He made low growls of weariness, and the man called back in the same way. I answered them in the same manner. They both turned and vanished once more. I wanted to join him and see where they go, but I knew that he didn't want me to. So I just went back to bed. No one came to my room, and I never saw the man. 5 years afterward, I began to doubt that he would ever return. I constantly yelled and shouted at the sky for him to come back. He intrigued me for so long, and I needed to see him more. I was older. I always wanted to know things. He was kept in mind always, and I was never bothered by his appearance. I searched my room and hoped that he would be there or anywhere. But I knew that he wasn't going to stay anywhere in my sight. He randomly shows up. But from the rest of that year to early 2008, I hadn't seen him around. But that was until last month that I began seeing him again. He was always asking me to join him to find children, and they began... I had no idea of what to do, and they all just... You've got to believe me, I had no idea that this would happen. That son of a bitch was just going to... Us all to... Don't you fucking get it? I was so caught up in this guy's bullshit that I traveled with him. A few weeks ago, I know what he does. I know that. And they call him... I know that he lives it. Do you get all that? Good. Now let me go. Let's kill them. I used to go diving a lot. Not so much anymore, but a couple of years ago I was really into it. Had my license and everything. It's really beautiful down there. The pale patterned sand, the water washing away the distance like a blue mist, and flashes of the brightest colors that you've ever seen as some fish dart into view. I've done my share of exploring wrecks and grottos, but my favorite thing to do is hover right where the shelf plunges into the deep. You get the greatest dynamics there, as deep-sea creatures come out to feed. Anyway, one time, I was drifting along near Antigua, about 40 feet down. I had 2 tanks with me so I could stay down for several hours. The shelf sloped off to my left, and rocks and coral broke the monotony of the sand to my right. I hadn't seen much that day. I was getting a bit bored. But then I noticed a large octopus. It was a deep sea type, probably washed up accidentally. They don't usually come up to hunt. It seemed sluggish and didn't react much when I drifted over to it. Now, octopi aren't very friendly creatures. If you manage to get near one, they usually flee within seconds. I'm sure that you've seen videos of them changing colors to match their environments. Not all species can do that, but they're all very good at hiding. So seeing a deep-sea octopus up close was quite an opportunity. It was about a foot from crown to beak, and dark, mottled green. Its tentacles curled around it, perhaps 4 feet long when extended and pale on the underside. Its eyes looked like golden rings around narrowed black pupils. It was having trouble moving and looked half dead. I decided to try and get near it. There were some yellow-tailed jacks nearby, and I speared one with my knife. Well, sorry if that offends you, I'm not one of those touch-nothing divers. Cautiously, I approached the octopus and offered it my fish, shoving it out ahead of me and letting it drift towards the creature. Success! It didn't run, but lazily reached an arm out to capture the morsel. It brought it under its beak and began to devour it. I drifted closer, trying to acclimate it to my presence. After maybe half an hour or so, it became more lively and used to my presence. Apparently, I had bought its tolerance with my offering, and it even began to play a little bit, darting away from me and then back. I had a stick with me that I used to test holes in mud and such, and it occurred to me that maybe I could teach it to play fetch. I brought the stick out and waved it until it seemed like it had its attention, and then I threw the stick out sideways. It didn't go very far underwater, but the octopus went after it, grabbed it with its tentacles. It didn't seem inclined to return it to me, though, so I swam closer. It was waving the stick at me, and then tossed it out to the side. It was copying me. I retrieved the stick, and then an interesting idea came into my head. Next to us was a large, flat rock covered in half an inch of mud and a detritus. Carefully, not to disturb the layers, I took the stick and slowly drew a crude figure of a man, 2 legs, 2 arms, and a round head coming off of a center cylinder. The octopus seemed to be watching with interest. I tossed it the stick, and it caught it easily. It sat there toying with it, and for a few moments I thought that my expectations had been a bit too high. But then it reached out with the stick and began tracing its own mark in the mud. It was even cruder than mine, to be sure, but clearly drawing. However, the proportions were all wrong. It had fused the head and the body into one ball, and there were too many legs. I was just happy to see that it was copying me. I heard octopi were smart, but this was really something. But then it hit me like a freezing wave. The octopus wasn't copying my drawing. It was drawing itself. The implications for this were huge. If I'd had a video camera then, I'd be a famous man today. The only other animals that I was aware that were capable of imagination and self-awareness to do something like this is an ape, first cousin to humans. That the ancient octopus, without so much as a spinal column, had the mental capacity for such a feat would surely have turned biology on its ears. However, I didn't have a camera, and the scientists that I've told my story to greet it with understandable skepticism. I would put all of my time into trying to prove it myself. But I can't bring myself to go diving anymore. Anyway, once the realization struck, I got excited. The octopus passed the stick back, and I began drawing other sea creatures and common sights. We kept on for maybe an hour, and the octopus contributed as much as I. It even drew something that I took to be a crude figurine of a submarine, with a con tower and propeller screw and even torpedo holes. Finally, the octopus led me to the other side of the rock, a blank canvas. Far down in the corner, it again drew itself, and then me. These figures were very small, maybe an inch or two tall. Then, painstakingly, it went to work on a much larger drawing. Well, at first I thought it was a whale. But whales were roughly the size of a submarine, so it didn't seem to justify the scale. Furthermore, the proportions were all wrong. This seemed like something more humped and compact. Almost as if it were upright rather than aquiline. And it had a weird bit sticking out of it that didn't seem like fins. I couldn't place it. An oil platform, maybe? No, the lines were too natural, and an octopus wouldn't know what the top of a platform looks like. When the drawing was done, we both sat there and looked at it for a while. I took the stick back from the octopus and circled the drawing of us, and then drew a line to the thing. I'm not sure if the octopus picked up on my confusion, because it just sort of sat there for a while. It didn't try to take the stick back. Then it started swimming away. I followed it at a distance. It seemed to be keeping pace, leading me on. Then it turned and shot out into the deep area of the shelf. I was a good ways through my second tank and wasn't supposed to go any deeper, so I had to let it go. It stopped once to watch me, and then darted off, dissolving into the black-blue depths. I looked after it for a few minutes to see if it would return. There was nothing. So I started watching the other fish and making my way slowly back to the boat. And suddenly there was a low, thrumming sound all around me. It wasn't very loud, but it was big, as if it came from the ocean floor itself. I've heard of underwater eruptions, but I'd never been in one, and I was wondering if I was about to be. But this didn't sound like anything natural. It sounded like the call of some animal, slowed down into the virtually subsonic range, and projected from huge speakers very far away. I've had a chance to look over the seismograph recording for that day, and nothing shows up at the time of that frequency. I have no idea why. The fish were going crazy, darting back and forth, all headed inland. And not just the reef fish. Larger ones from deeper in were streaming by me even faster. Suddenly, among them, the octopus appeared again. It, or one quite like it, it swam up to me and eyed me strangely, and then darted past with the rest. The thrumming sounded again. Looking out to sea, I gradually became aware of a large, dark patch. It was very hard to tell how big or far away it was, but there was plenty of both to go around. It was hard to tell more than just a shadow in the murky waters, but it clearly wasn't a whale or anything man-made. I couldn't even tell if it was a single creature. There seemed to be long strands like kelp or jellyfish tentacles streaming off of it, but immeasurably larger. It looked like nothing so much as an ancient, misshapen section of coral reef broke off and floating. At least the part I could see. It seemed to fade off into the distance as though that mass, immense as it may be, was only a limb to some far larger entity. I've never seen a naval carrier from underwater, but I imagine that's the kind of shadow it would cast. The thrumming rang out for a third time. An unreasoning fear seized me. I didn't appear to be in danger, though the thing was vaster than anything I'd ever seen. It was too far away to reach me quickly, and it seemed like it wouldn't fit into the shallows anyway. Nevertheless, I was gripped by the feeling that if I didn't get away as fast as I could, I would be dragged down into the abyss and consumed. I could feel the very water itself drawing me down into the black maw. Heedless of the depths of my equipment, I surged upwards. As I rose, of course, I began cramping, but I clawed my way anyway. I was still far from the boat when I broke the surface. I could barely move. I had to keep my mouthpiece in because I couldn't keep my mouth above water. I certainly couldn't call or signal the boat. Far from receding, my panic was worse than ever. From above the water, I couldn't see the thing or tell whether it was coming for me. I thrashed my slow, painful way towards the boat, and finally, someone on board noticed me, and they came to pick me up. I had the bends bad. I had to stay in a hospital for a few weeks until I was over it. The doctors tell me that I was lucky not to get a stroke or some other permanent damage. That's my story. I'm sorry I can't give more satisfying conclusions. I still don't know myself what I experienced. My friends think that it was some form of rapture, but it just doesn't match the symptoms. Narcosis is supposed to reduce anxiety, not stimulate it, and my hallucinations, if that's what they were too vivid and specific. Since then, I've been afraid of the water. I tried going out once or twice, but all I can do is stay shaking in the boat. I think there really was something out there, and I don't think it's something I ever want to come across again. We've all been there. You've just gone to a certain place at a certain time on a certain date, done a special thing, and the thing that you suspected would happen has just fucking happened. Not to mention the fact that you've just seen whatever the fuck it is that lives in your mirror, been told in detail how you're going to die, and the highly demonic and invincible thing that you summoned is heading towards you. Also, your family are dead. Your friends are all missing, and you're being framed by someone with access to your bedroom. What the fuck do you do now, sweet protagonist? Well, you've come to the right place to find out. These are the simple rules one must follow in order to, firstly, not become the victim of creepypasta, and furthermore, to come out kicking if the worst does happen. With the help of this guide, you too can be merely a catatonic, traumatized wreck, as opposed to the guy currently being worn as a coat by some dude who roams a lot. Just keep these simple rules in mind. The updated creepypasta survival guide. Number 1, mirrors and darkness don't mix. Number 2, actually mirrors are a general no in the creepypasta world. There is nothing more sinister. Number 3, there is 0 chance of survival if you look at the thing that no one else can see, or answer its question incorrectly. Number 4, if you're alone at night in a creepy mental institution, take some time to consider what the fuck you're doing there. Then if it is appropriate to do so, leave. Number 5, avoid going to places where everyone else who went there never came back or died inexplicably. Number 6, if anyone stops your vehicle at night and asks you to go with them, it would probably be in your best interest to politely decline. Number 7, killing is the last method of survival. Use it sparingly, but without fear. Number 8, who was phone? Is always a good thing to ponder. And who the hell answers a phone while having sex with a dead person's sexy daughter? A douche. That's who. Number 9, get a simple .38 revolver, load it with 2 silver bullets. If you really feel that there is no chance to come out alive out of a situation, take one shot at whatever it is that's threatening you. If that doesn't work, you still have one last shot to become a tragic hero with. Number 10, Area 51 is simply too well guarded to let you in, or let any aliens out. Number 11, when going to a hotel, try to steer clear of unauthorized areas. If you couldn't resist, but you saw a red thing, take some time to consider the price range and hotel standards on your next visit. Have you ever stayed in a haunted Hilton? Number 12, when booking your holiday stay, TripAdvisor can be an invaluable tool in deeming whether your choice is the scene of a multiple murder, full of dead people, or built on the mouth of hell. Local newspapers can also be helpful. Number 13, invoking demons. Speaking weird languages and performing rituals of any kind is considered dangerous. Refrain from doing so especially around abandoned warehouses, churches, psychiatric institutions, the woods, and your house in front of a mirror at night. Number 14. When going to a new area, environmental understanding is a key to survival. Ask around for cursed places, legends, dangers, and other details. Listen to the local people's advice, and do not be afraid to ask if you are unsure of which attacks/disappearances are paranormal and which aren't. Number 15. Always have a Bible next to your bed. Provides average reading material, proof of beliefs, and a really heavy and effective object to throw at enemies. Number 16. Don't count on holy water. Get a sturdy vial of sulfuric acid and let a priest consecrate it. Number 17. Japanese priests cleanse rooms by waving katana swords around. This ritual is 100% effective on corporeal forms. Number 18. If you find 666 messages on your phone, mailbox, email, etc., consider changing the said service provider. Also, don't bother listening to or reading the messages. It's spam. Extra-dimensional? Possibly, but spam nonetheless. Number 19. Old pharmaceutical companies can't help you unless you're specifically needing the blood of the innocent, snake oil, and radioactive syrup. Which is never. Number 20. If you need to sign it in blood, you do not need to sign it. All mainstream governing bodies will accept contracts signed in ink. Bear this in mind if offered deals that seem too good to be true. Number 21. Lighthouses are dangerous. Avoid them at all costs. If you work at a lighthouse, consider a career in insurance sales or veterinary care. Number 22. There is simply no reason to listen to music that causes suicidal tendencies. Number 23. Or watch films that have strange, disastrous consequences. Number 24. If you like to plan ahead and have some money, buy your auntie and uncle a house in Bel Air. Nothing can harm you there, no matter how scared your mother is. Number 25. Secret, secluded, untouched places and old buildings are left untouched for a reason. Pioneers never say die, but in fact, they do have an unusually high mortality rate. Number 26. Before you start swimming in the ice-cold waters of a murky lake at the center of a dark forest at midnight, ask yourself, do you really want to travel to an ancient and terrifying city? If the answer is no, then stay at home instead. Watch whatever quality programming is available on Cinemax, which means boobs. 27. On your 33rd birthday, try celebrating in a well-lit house with the company of others. Number 28. Refrain from using the one true name for anything. There's probably a reason that people gave it a nick. 29. Watching TV static for long periods may be hazardous to your health. Try satellite TV or Freeview to combat this problem. Netflix and internet streaming are also effective. Number 30. Get a cat. These furry little hairballs seem to perceive unnatural phenomena better than us. And if desperate, simply throw it at whatever's about to get you. Number 31. Safety in numbers. If you're getting a bit too freaked out, grab a few friends, any and all firearms, and avoid the area in question. Number 32. Cemeteries are bad places, especially in foggy conditions and on Halloween. Number 33. Try not to close your eyes. Ever. If you must do so only briefly. If something has moved from its original location in the time that it has taken you to blink, it is recommended that you do not blink again unless you have dealt with said object. Fire is presumably the best method. 34. If you ever find an unmarked tape which contains the file extension .avi, even if it is your favorite kids show, do not, under any circumstances, watch that tape. Now, if the extension is .mts, that is a different matter altogether. Number 35. If you hear chanting, run until you are out of earshot. Number 36. If you are too old to play with dolls, you do not need to be anywhere near one of those creepy little fuckers. Number 37. Legends can offer valuable insight into where not to go camping with friends. Number 38. When babysitting, ascertain the family's taste and preferences to avoid being killed by poorly selected statues. Number 39. Even if you are certain that running will not save you, it's always best to try. Number 40. If you go to buy a used video game, whether it's at a game shop or garage sale, never ever buy one with a weird looking cartridge. This includes strange colors and ripped off labels with titles written in marker. The latter tends to happen more often than not. For the daring, don't just buy said game to become famous. Your chances of becoming an internet celebrity because of it can only work if you know how to program. You should also be highly suspicious of games priced too cheaply and bootlegs. Number 41. If you decide to buy the used game anyway, rip that son of a bitch out of your console the moment it starts acting funny and take a hammer to it. Number 42. If you ever see a strangely new-looking doorway with a strange face on it in a building that you swore you didn't see at first, and that building happens to be an old chateau, don't fucking open it. Number 43. It's probably best to refrain from looking up on Google the phrase "Huskies with grins." You'll only end up having to spread the word. Number 44. Never allow someone to take a picture of you with an outdated camera. If it's too late, your only bet is to gamble with death, or just trap him in a photo. That works too. Number 45. Don't play with dolls if they come with needles or a defect, especially a defect. Number 46. Burn Ouija boards. Number 47. Never confront animated puppets physically. Subdue them with spells, or they'll come back with minions or in a real physical body. Number 48. If you find yourself unable to escape, dancing may ward off the entity. Doing the hokey pokey is known to ward off curious monsters, but you might have to do the moonwalk to deal with zombies. Number 49. If you're checking your computer for viruses and you go too deep into System 32, refrain from clicking on any .avi files. If you do not heed this warning, creepy videos on you, dude. Number 50. If you see old tapes containing the words happy or appy, pretend that you never saw them. Just go on with your life. It'll just end up invoking some whacked out, coked up director of an old children's show, and you'll wind up having to pull some thanks for the ride shit to kill him. Number 51. If you buy a used camcorder and find the previous owner left one of their tapes inside, refrain from watching that tape no matter how tempted it may be. Number 52. Be careful when buying an old secondhand TV. Number 53. If you see a guy with both an incredibly large smile and black and white eyes, extricate yourself from the premise post haste. Number 54. Don't go to a friend's house to bake cupcakes if they have random spouts of insanity. Number 55. Phone companies with low coverage are best avoided. Number 56. .exe files with strange names are not safe. Don't open them. Number 57. For the love of Neptune, turn off your fucking faucet when you're done with it. Number 58. If you're told to not look behind you, it's better to do so unless you're against a wall. Number 59. Also, do not listen to anybody who tells you to go to sleep. It's better just to run. Number 60. If you see a tall man with tentacles, run. Number 61. Don't enter strange websites. Number 62. Don't enter strange places. Number 63. Don't click on strange videos. Number 64. If a woman who covers her mouth asks you if she's beautiful, tell her she's average. Number 65. No good can ever come from owning a shiny Pokemon. Number 66. If you're an intern at a cartoon studio and you happen to be reviewing a new episode, make sure that episode is safe for work before viewing that shit. Number 67. Don't be excited when asked to look behind you, but don't take forever. No reason to keep that certain death waiting. Number 68. Weird shit in Europe can't hurt you in the United States. Leave that to Creeps, Scarecrow, and the Creepy Dark. Number 69. Weird shit in the United States won't hurt you in Europe. Damn. Number 60. Should you break Rule 54, there is always a chance for rescue. Number 71. If your brother is tired of noise, or if your close friend has a brother like that, refrain from going into his basement unless you want to be tortured, raped, and killed. Number 71. If you buy a memory card and it has saved data on it, delete all of the saves. Number 73. If you get a drawing of Sonic on a disc, and the only file on that disc is a .exe file and Sonic won't play, destroy it. Number 74. If you see what appears to be a 12-year-old kid with black shorts, a gray bloody shirt, and red shades, dark gray skin, and a manic grin, do not under any circumstances piss him off. Unless you're a werepire. Or brave. Number 75. Even on Christmas, paranormal shit can happen. Number 76. Neighbors may have a darker side. If they do things that seem off for them, act normal. Number 77. If you hear foreign voices from your body, that means you've been body jacked. Number 78. If you are an adult and notice that you're being stalked by a guy with a black suit, long arms, and no face, reach for the nearest child and throw him or her at him. Then run like hell. Number 79. If you're a child in the same situation, run like hell before said adult uses you to satisfy aforementioned beings' cravings of hunger. If you don't manage to escape before the adult snags you, try bargaining with the Slender Man, that the adult has more delicious flesh. Number 80. The Slender Man, said monster depicted in the last two tips, feeds on paranoia. If you remember Slender Man only wants a hug, he won't go after you. But if Slender Man does stalk you, run, man! Number 81. If all else fails, give Slenderman $20. He should leave you alone. Number 82. If you see someone crawling around, it's more likely to be something, and you don't want more information about it. Number 83. If you're a police officer, state trooper, FBI agent, or any person of authority, and you have 2 days left until retirement, if you happen to notice anything suspicious or dangerous to happen, get the fuck out of there immediately. Number 84. If you are being chased by any creepypasta and feel that you are 100% out of options, attempt to run to wherever Stephen King is doing his next book signing. Your killer will be far too interested in trying to get an autograph to remember what they were doing there in the first place. If Stephen King is not in your general vicinity, R.L. Stine is also available. Number 85. If you are a creepypasta reader and feel like things are getting a little too real, take a break. Number 86. If you find a magic stick that lets you draw living creatures, don't draw yourself. You may be surprised how pissed off your creations can get at you. Number 87. If you wake up in the middle of the woods after having fallen asleep listening to your own heartbeat, take notice that someone probably put you there. But don't call the police, publish a book of it, and get a movie deal. Number 88. If you're being offered an orange by a demon, either don't take it or follow the steps from Rule 89. Rule 89. On the third day of the third month of every 33rd year, seal up all the openings to your house, unless you want to be eaten by an evil mist. Number 90. If you notice that you're being stalked by a screaming child in a skull mask, don't always assume that kid's evil. Just be sure to save the bunch of crunch should you have any. Number 91. When reminiscing about your favorite kids show on a message board, take a moment to consider if that episode where all the children screamed their lungs out was real or not. Also take a moment to consider if the entire show was real or not. Number 92. When looking through mysterious blood-soaked pictures left in your mailbox, check to make sure that you've locked your doors and windows. Number 93. Remember, snowmen have feelings too. Number 94. Stitches are naked. Covering them with a towel will cause them to die. Do so. Number 95. If your friend disturbingly edits tapes, it's probably a good idea to never try to see him again. Number 96. If you find broken glass in your home, check to see if the shards match the color of the glass object that was broken. If they don't, run. Number 97. If Jeff the Killer shows up in your bedroom unarmed and invites you to follow him to his home, for God's sake, don't do it. Number 98. Should you notice that your friend has suddenly developed a personality that's a mix between Heath Ledger's Joker and Beetlejuice, he or she is, most likely, inhabited. It would be best to keep clear of this person until they return to their normal boring-as-fuck personality. Number 99. If you encounter a small creature that looks like a mutant four-armed baby with Jeff the Killer's face, don't listen to it. Not even if it offers you gold. Number 100. If you're still using Windows XP, and you use it every day with internet, sticking with it is a pretty stupid decision. End of support means more doors opening for viruses, and even more doors opening for crazy shit. Number 101. Stay far, far away from abandoned amusement parks. Number 102. If your son starts talking about some sort of doll from any game, do not play the fucking game. Take the gaming system and play baseball with it. 103. If you do play the game and later you hear any tapping at any place in your home, yell to your child to lock your door and jump from a window. It is wise then to light the house on fire and jump from the window with your spouse. Number 104. Be atheist, or convert to any religion that isn't monotheism. So when a monster says, "I am God," or an insane man says, "God abandoned us," you will chuckle, since it's an overused cliche, instead of getting struck by your broken faith. Number 105. Always think twice before doing something stupid, or doing something that you might regret. 106. If you come across a pro wrestler DVD that you haven't heard of, it was likely never released for a reason. Number 107. If you're browsing the internet and a colorful pop-up that says, "You win, you lose, or you die" appears, for God's sake, don't click on it. Number 108. If a magic 8-ball gives you anything but yes, no, or maybe, destroy it. Number 109. Do not go to any halfway house or mental institution that you can get yourself into in any city in any country, unless your name happens to be Legion. Number 110. If you do end up in any halfway house or mental institution that you can get yourself into, do not talk to the receptionist at the front desk. Instead, read a magazine, pamphlet, or any source of reading material on one of those tables in the waiting area, unless your name is Legion. Number 111. If you do talk to the receptionist, At the front desk of the halfway house or mental institution, do not ask for anyone whose name starts with the holder of, unless you're Legion. Number 112. Do not collect all 538 objects. There is a reason why they must never come together, unless your name is Legion. Number 113. If you find a bag with a dozen of tapes inside of it, just fucking leave it alone. It might be some kid that you punched in the face a while ago, and now is out to kill everyone. Number 114. There are some parts of YouTube you should not be in. Number 115. Don't kill anyone because you made a page on a website and an admin of someone deleted it. Just don't do it. You should probably just go read a book or something. Number 116. If you buy used wireless headphones off the internet, rip those bitches off your head as soon as you hear static and or a voice. Number 117. If you attempt to bypass a level of extremely hard typing game, you might find yourself trying to kidnap children whilst wearing a chef's hat. Number 118. In addition to rule 117, there's probably a reason why that level was so damn hard. Number 119. If you go camping in the woods and you find a cabin, you should probably leave it alone. You've watched the movies. Number 120. Everyone's scared of something. If you're not scared of anything, well, then you're a liar. Number 121. When playing Minecraft, do not set the render distance to tiny. Number 122. If you do set your render distance to tiny and a mob that looks like Steve is seen in the distance, set render distance to full. Number 123. If said mob is still sighted, delete the game. Number 124. If said mob, known as Herobrine, is in every game, delete Minecraft. Number 125. If you are in your bedroom at night and you wake up to see a feeble-looking gray humanoid at the end of your bed, do not hesitate in throwing your covers over it and trying to punch it to death, and maybe put the Bible that was mentioned earlier to good use. Number 126. If previously mentioned creature escapes one's grasp, it will stalk you and maul you, so if sighted again, run. Number 127. Monsters still bleed. If forced to fight one, don't think that all hope is lost. Number 128. Better safe than sorry. If you do kill whatever it is that attacked you, don't think that you're safe yet. Shoot or stab them in every vital organ that you can think of and sever limbs. Burn the corpse and or putting it through a meat grinder helps too. Number 129. If a banshee is screaming the living shit out of you, then that's the only sign of you going to die a slow, painful death. Number 130. If you have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon card that is a very ominous force, either creates death or magic that you can never imagine, either burn the card or cut it to pieces with scissors. Abandoning it, example, taking it to the trash, would simply make you its next victim. Number 131. Demonic or spiritual forces can enter any person with ease, and can be kept out of that object by letting a priest or a group of priests do an exorcism as long as you or any members of your family aren't the cause of it. Number 132. Seek a fortune teller if you happen to have any spiritual experience that would affect your future. Number 133. Rap Rat is not a song artist. In fact, just stay away from anything that concerns him. Number 134. Slenderman does not always kill out of hunger or boredom. If he is stalking you, ask yourself if your death would benefit humanity. If it would, then just throw in the towel, because he's coming. Don't believe me? Go ask those Nazi soldiers found impaled on trees. 135. Hide and Seek is an evil game. 136. Before you consider those horrible figments of your deranged imagination your friends, take a good look at their faces. If they have yellow eyes or are impossibly deformed, take as many pills as your local psychiatrist will give you. Number 137. If you suspect that an immortal, armless monster wants to put a foot through your stomach, run. Number 138. If your walls bleed phrases that make no sense, try reading them backwards. Number 139. If your walls start to bleed in the first place, it's best to burn the house down. Number 140. If that one wall is miraculously unburned, run. Number 141. Get in shape. The only thing that you can do to evade the majority of creepypasta is to run. Number 142. If you're a paraplegic, make like Happy Wheels and fashion some rockets. Number 143. If any kind of man or beast appears in your room in the middle of the night, then it's best to stab it, and stab it, and stab it. Number 144. If you have no other weapons, put the Bible that I told you to keep next to your bed to good use. Number 145. The creepypastas that become most famous can't be forced. They just happen. If you are deliberately putting yourself in danger against powerful, extremely bloodthirsty beings so that you can write a story to put up on a Wikipedia page, it may be time to accept that you are a complete fucking asshat. Follow these simple rules and little or massive harm may befall you. Either way, the important thing is to make sure that your tale is told, copied, and pasted repeatedly. Forever yours, Management.